Hi, welcome to the Tabs and Icons video series. In this particular video, we're going to deviate a little bit from the regular Excel functions that we've been treating. We are moving into Excel for finance, and we're looking at two very vital functions that are used for investment appraisal. Now, if you take investment appraisal techniques, one of the very popular function that you will need as an analyst is the net present value and the internal rate of return. Now, for the purpose of those who are probably not accountant or finance experts, I'm going to explain briefly what NPV and IRR means. Now, the NPV stands for net present value, which simply means the value of future cash flows discounted to today's value, which means a 10,000 naira today for me is better than giving me 10,000 naira in 3 months' time because of problem of inflation and other economic indices that might weaken that currency in another 3 months. Now, what is the IRR? The internal rate of it actually forms a benchmark that leads your NPV to a zero value, which means what value, the least tolerable value within which my NPV will be at zero. Now, what are the rules guiding the NPV and the internal rate of return? First, let's look at what we are supposed to do. We have this information here. I have years 0 to year 5. And what am I supposed to do? Let's look at our illustration. We are told the directors of a new company invested the sum of 200 million in equity financing. The project forecast net cash flow in the first 5 years has been submitted to you as the investment analyst and required to advise the directors on the viability of the project. You are required to, 1, compute the company's net present value using the weighted average cost of capital of 31.5% as your discounting factor. Now, usually you should have a base for discounting your future cash flow. In this simplistic assumption, we've been told to use the company's WACC. Now, to compute that, we will need discount factor, which is based on the discount rate. Now, 2 approaches to get discount factor. Might use the finance function 1 plus r raised to power minus n, where r is our discount factor, which in this case is 31.5. Alternatively, you can use the Excel function called power. Now, if I say equal to power, and I open my bracket, it asks me for number. What number am I talking about? Now, in this case, it's 1 plus r. That's my number. And then it asks me for the power. I'm going to say minus n. So this is what I will use. It's actually to n, but because we are discounting that, I'm going to put it as a minus. Now, any of this that we use, we will get the same thing. So let's first of all try the Excel function power. So I come here and I say equal to power. I open the bracket. It's going to ask me for number. I will know the number is 1 plus the discount rate. So I'm going to say 1 plus the discount rate. That is my power. Now, if I close my bracket and I take a comma, okay, I've already put that too. So if I take my comma, it's going to ask me power. Now I'm raising it to power minus n. So I take this and I hit this, I hit my enter key. Now I'm getting 1, which is 1.000. Remember, any value raised to power 0 is 1. So whether this value changes to 40% doesn't matter. It's certainly going to be 1. Now let me copy this one across. Now when I copy across, if I raise that to 1, I'm going to get this. What that simply means is a naira today, by tomorrow, that naira, by next year, that naira is going to be 0.76 naira. And by year 5, all things being equal, is going to be 0.2 naira. So how do I get the present value of my investment? I multiply the discount factor by my cash flow. So I copy this one across, and these are my cash flows. Now, the net present value is simply the summation of the strings of my future discounted cash flows. So I'm going to sum all this to this place, and I hit my enter key. So I have 52.246 million. Now, what is the implication of this answer to a finance analyst? The rule says that where your NPV is positive, then the project is viable. So all things being equal, we can actually recommend to the director that based on the net present value approach, this project is good to go. Now, assuming I don't want to use all this route, and I decide, say, let me use the NPV function. There's an NPV function right inside Excel. So if you type NPV, you will see the NPV function there. And what are we told? It returns the net present value of an investment based on a discount rate. Cool. We already have a discount rate, which is this, 31 plus this. So I may not bother to do the whole of this one. I'll just walk straight with my NPV and I should get the same 52.2. So what am I going to do? Equal to NPV. I open my bracket. It's asking me what rate am I talking about? I'm talking of this rate, which is the discount rate. And then I open my bracket. Now, usually for NPV, we are going to look at the cash inflows and add the investment amount. So I'm taking this, which is the cash inflow, to this particular place. I close my bracket, I take a comma, and I'm going to add the cash outflows. So I add the year 0. I hit my enter, and I'm having the same value. So working with Excel, I actually don't need to do the whole of this. I would have just used my Excel function NPV and arrive at the same thing. So we already have that. Let me take this out. So now, okay, let me leave it there. So that's based on the Excel function, based on NPV Excel function. Now let's calculate our internal rate of return, IRR. Remember, our internal rate of return is that rate that equates this net present value to 0, which means if this rate changes, continue changing, it will get a level where the net present value becomes 0, and to get a level where the net present value becomes negative, in which case the project is no longer viable. So we are looking at that worst scenario, that worst case, where the net present value is at 0 level. So I'm going to say equal to IRR. It's a function that you can see it returns the internal rate of return for a series of cash flows. I open my bracket, it asks for values. The whole values are together, so I'm going to place it as a range. That's all. I hit my enter key, and it's telling me the internal rate of return is 42.15. What does that mean? It means that if this place, which is 31.5, becomes 42.15, that this 52 will become 0. Now that's all that we need to do. But there's a third part of this question saying confirm. Let me move this a little bit up. Yeah, it's saying confirm the computed internal rate of return using the go seek command. Which means if I'm using Excel, I don't have to really do all this. I can go straight to my internal rate of return by using the go seek command. The go seek command is under the data tab in the what if analysis group. So let's see. Let me use go seek here and see if we can get the same amount, 42%. So I'm just going to keep this amount 42%. Let me color it red here and use my go seek to confirm if this place is 42, whether I'm going to get my NPV to be 0. So I go straight to my data tab. Under forecast group, you see the what if analysis. I click on it. I'm going to take go seek. Now the go seek, the what if analysis have 3 items there: scenario manager, go seek, and the data table. I'm going to look at the data table and scenario manager in another video. So I take this. Now what is it asking me? Set cell. So what am I trying to do? I want to sell this cell, which is the NPV, to what value? To 0. Because that's what we're saying. That the NPV is that rate that equates that to 0. Now, what is going to be changing together? The rate must change. So I click this. Please, let's look at this very well. Say set the net present value to 0 by changing the WACC, which is discount rate. Now, if I click on OK, the system will run and give me a rate here. That rate, if it's different from 42.15, simply means something is wrong with our computation using the IRR formula. But naturally, it should give us the same answer. So I click on my OK, and the system runs. Wow, that's it. So you can see it's giving me here 42.15, and my NPV is 0. Now, I have just confirmed that my computed internal rate of return using the IRR formula is correct by using the go seek to confirm that particular value. Thank you very much for listening. In other videos, we're going to see much more of what Excel can do. Bye-bye.